Would you like to classify 5 type of flowers, different flowers? So it can be roses, dandelion, daisy, sunflower, all of these flowers. Like you can take an image from the internet that is available to you, and you can feed it to your neural network as an input, and at the end you will get the classified image of the flower. So feeding the image of the flower, your network will be able to classify which flower it is. So this is the today's cool topic that we are going to focus on. So far now we have been considering the only digits which were the MNIST numbers, and that project was quite associated with the numerical values that were converted into an image. But in this video you are going to take the actual images and interact with them. So how do we do it? Let us now see it in the practice. So as you can see, this is my Google Colab, all right, and first thing is first, so I'll check my runtime because this is going to be quite GPU exhaustive, so please try to understand this. So I'll always see to it that my runtime is selected as GPU. Okay, you don't have to use TPU, it can be GPU, and just save it. And the first thing is first that we will have to import the TensorFlow. So I'll say import TensorFlow as TF, TensorFlow as TF, and shift enter. So now first of all let us have a look at the dataset itself. So the dataset not all the time will be available internally in the TensorFlow to use. You are going to require it to take it from the real world, from the internet or anywhere else, and then you will have to learn to interact with it. So today we are going to use the link, okay, the link of the data set that is available. Luckily it is available out there, but we just need to find it. So let us now do it. So the way we can do it is let's say just on the new tab try flower images TensorFlow link. Okay, so you will come across this link, that is TF flowers on the TensorFlow datasets, and this is not sufficient if you would ask me. Okay, so we need to have an appropriate link where we have the actual link. Okay, so if we check the image classification problem, these are the datasets that are available within the TensorFlow itself. So TensorFlow datasets extensively gives you a lot of dataset for the image classification problem. So our goal extensively is to have an appropriate link that we can interact with. So what I'll do is I'll just go on this one home page, and here I will have a link. So if we consider the data sets, you have 5 types of flowers, that is the daisy, dandelion, roses, sunflowers, and tulips. Okay, so if we feed 5 different type of images of the flowers, we will be able to classify which flower is it really. All right, so here you will have the link. All right, so this is the link. I'll post this link in the description box as well, so you don't have to explicitly go and search it like this, but this is the link that we have. All right, so let me just take that, or you can copy this entire segment of the code, but I think we should go just line by line. Okay, so we will just try to focus on the way the things are. So here I go, I'll take it, copy, Control C, and I'll come over here and I'll paste it. Okay, so dataset URL is equal to we have this link, and now I'll say shift enter. So a dataset URL named variable holds the link of my dataset, which is the flowers. And now so this is a zip file. All right, so I'll say zip. I cannot use zip because that is a keyword already available with the Python. So I'll say zip data. And now I will have to use the utilities of the keras that we have in order to extract it. So I'll say tf.keras dot utils dot get file. All right, so this is the way we get the file, and now this takes a certain kind of parameters. So first of all I will have to specify the origin. So I'll say origin, that is the keyword in it, and origin is I say zip, not zip, sorry, dataset URL. After that the next step is let's say the name of the folder. So I'll say fname is equal to flower underscore photos dot tgz. All right, and the last parameter that we'll have to specify is extract, which is equal to true. Okay, so it is going to extract me the files. Okay, so I have done nothing special. Okay, this is the code that is already available over here. You can either say flower photos.tgz, otherwise you can just keep it as flower photos, because that is the folder that is under it. So yeah, so and I'll say just extract is equal to true. So the zip data is going to have my data, and this is the way I extract the data from that link. All right, so this is the step you will have to follow. Obviously I'll be posting the link of this tutorial, like the notebook, Jupyter notebook, on the GitHub, so that link will be in the description box, as well as you will also have the dataset link, so you can directly click over there. You don't have to go through the entire hassle. All right, now next step is I'll have to create a, so if we look it over here, you can see a lot of, so they have performed different operations to view the images and everything. So this is the way the images are in the let's say the data set, and later they have applied some the other things. Okay, so we will actually learn this. I am actually going to take a different route in order to learn this. So the way I can do it, so first of all I'll import the OS. So importing OS, I'll tell you why. Now I will have to make a base directory. Now the function that I'll be using over here is known as image generator. Okay, so what is this image generator, you may ask? So I will have a lot of images and I will have to handle them. So TensorFlow extensively, like the Keras, provides us with something known as image generator, which is very much handy because it allows you to split your data, augment your data, and do a lot of things. Okay, data augmentation is for reserved from some I would say another tutorial. But in this tutorial, what you can come across is how we actually introduce the image data generator. So this image data generator helps us to generate the images in a very clean and efficient manner from the folder that we have. You don't have to explicitly work on doing some things. Okay, you can easily do it by yourself. So what I'll do is I'll say base directory. Okay, so this is the name of the variable that I'm trying to specify. After that, I'll say os dot path dot join. Now you may ask why I'm actually doing this. I'll just come back to you. And after that, I'll say os dot directory name, and I'll feed it the zip data. All right, zip data, and the name of the data, I'll say flower photos. Okay, so this is the way I like to do it. Import OS has no model dir name. Okay, I think it is path.dir name. All right, path. Yeah, from path I'm taking the directory. Sorry. What is the motive of doing this, you may ask? So I'll tell you that I have the zip, I extracted it, but I want my base directory to hold that for my image data generator. All right, because my image data generator doesn't know where my file is residing. I don't have to specifically mention the path that I have. I want to use the path that is already available to us. Okay, so the things become quite much easier. Now I'll say data generator. So this is just the name of the variable that I'm making. Okay, nothing new. And I'll say tf.keras.preprocessing dot image. So tf.keras.preprocessing dot image, and then I'll say image data generator. So now this is like a massive thing. Okay, this has a lot of parameters, as you can even see over here. Okay, we have a lot of things, so that can be actually used to perform the data augmentation, but we are not looking at that at the moment. Our task is to just take the images from the real world and classify it. Okay, so we want to classify the flowers, and we should get the name of the flower, what the real name is. And so 2 parameters I will like to specify in this image data generator. So I'll say rescale. Okay, rescale, and I'll say 1.0, that is 1.0 divided by 255.0. Now why I'm doing this, I'll tell you. If I rescale my image in this fashion, the values are going to get, quite compressed. So those are, I would say, pretty much easy to handle. And next step is I'll do is validation split. So what is validation split? So I want to split my training data into some sort of samples. All right. So I'll say, let's say 0.2. So 20% data I want for validation and 80% data I want for training. Okay. So training and testing. Now this data generator holds my image data generator, and this data generator will be used to interact with the procedures of the splitting. So now I will say train data generator, or we can just say training data. Okay, pretty clean variable, training data. And now I will call my data underscore generator. Okay, now from this generator I am going to take flow from directory. And the way I like to do it, so now this is actually going to hold the location directory where I have. So I'll say base directory. So this is going to go to my data, and the image data generator is going to basically prepare my data in order to be feed it to the network in the form of the training and testing. So that thing is being handled by this. So if you are familiar with the machine learning concepts from scikit-learn, you might have came across the train test split. So this is doing it for the images. Okay, it is making your work very much easy. And I'll have to mention the target size. So the target size of the image, if you even see over here, it is I think 224 by 224. Okay, so that is the image. Okay, so the total number of images are 3670. So 20% will be reserved for testing. So I think the 20% will be around 700 images. Okay, so 730, let's say. And yeah, we can do it. So see, they have also used the image data generator over here. Yeah, see, using 734 files for the validation, so 730 somewhere around. And the way we can do it, so these images are I think 224 by 224. Okay, so let us just do it. Okay, I'm not trying to get much more into the depth. Okay, we just have to keep the documentation aside at the moment. So I would say 224 by 224. Okay, 224 by 224. And next step is, now something is known as the batch size. All right, I'll tell you. I'll make a variable of it. So let's say batch size. Okay, this is the name of my variable. And what I'll do is I'll put a variable over here, and I'll say batch size is equal to 64. Okay, so I'm assigning 64, and now this variable is actually going to hold that batch size for me. Okay, so quite much clean code. And then I'll say subset is equal to training. Okay, so now this is training data set. So my image data generator knows that it has to split the data between 80 and 20%. So the subset over here states that it is reserved for training. So 80% of the images will be this one. And now what is batch size? So see, I cannot browse through like 1,000 images very efficiently. So I'm dividing these images into a batches of 64. So a single batch will be taken for execution every single time by the network. So it makes it very much efficient. And if you are using optimizers, different optimizers, so even if we are sticking with the stochastic gradient descent that we have been doing since many of the last tutorials, this is going to be much beneficial for you. Okay, so hands down I would say please try to use the batch size. Okay, so now I'm running this. So it says found 2939 images belonging to the 5 classes. So what are my 5 classes? It is dandelion, sunflower, rose, tulips, and one more flower. Okay, so I think daisy. And this is it. So now I will use the let's say testing data, testing data. What has happened? And what I'll do is I'll just copy this, okay, and make some changes so that I don't have to type a lot of code once again. And the best change I can do over here is just subset, which is I would say validation. Okay, validation. This is the only change, nothing else. Everything else just stays the same, and it's a 731 images belonging to the 5 classes. Yeah, this is it. And now what I can do is, so let's say if I try to call my training data, which holds my data for the training, and I'll say class indices. So this is actually going to give me the classified, like the names that are going to be classified. So daisy, dandelion, roses, sunflowers and tulips. So this is the data preparation, okay, and it is very much important. Okay, please don't ignore this step. And now comes our main part, which is the model creation. Okay, so which model I want to make? Okay, so in this one I'm going to make a very simple model. So this simple model is going to be somewhere around, let's say, 3 layers deep. So 3 con layers, so three con layers with 3 max pool layers. Okay, so that is going to be the architecture of it. So I'll say model is equal to let's say tf. So this is just the thing that we have been doing till now. Okay, so I'll say sequential. Okay, so tf.keras.model.sequential. All right, and in this I'll say tf.keras.layers, and the layer is going to be, let's say, con 2d. See, I don't have to type a lot of code if you just use the linter that is available to us. And I'll say 64 filters, size ranging from 3 by 3, and I will have to specify activation function. So activation, I'll say, is our good one, that is Relu. Okay, so I have covered everything, every single aspect of the CNN in the last tutorial. So if you don't know, please check that. I'll link the card on the top. Okay, so you can check that. And next thing is, I'll say input size, because I have to specify the input, or I think it is shape. Okay, input shape, and it is 224 by 224. And now today we are actually working with the RGB images. Okay, so I'll have to say 3. Next step is, I'll say the max pool layer. So tf.keras.layers max pool 2d. Okay, so max pool 2d. I think it is max pooling, not max pool. I don't really know the difference between this, but something goes wrong. I'll just study and let you know in the next tutorial. Now this is my first layer. Okay, so similarly I'll have to make 3 layers. So I'm just going to do some smart work. I'm just going to copy so that I don't have to type a lot of code once again, and we can save some time. Okay, so twice. Okay, so I have specified this 3 times, and I'll just get rid of this input shape because I don't need it. I have to only specify it in the first. So 64 layers, and once again I'll say 64. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this. So 1 con layer, 1 max pool, 1 con layer, 1 max pool, 1 con layer, 1 max pool. Okay, so this is the way I like to put it. And now I would like to make a little bit of change in this. So I want my network to be like this. Okay, so let's say this is my input and it is starting. So from small it can be 64. Then in the middle I want a big hidden layer, let's say 128 neurons. Okay, we can do it the way we want. Okay, so let us now just keep it 64, and later on when we try to tweak the accuracies in the upcoming tutorials, I'll try to make that change. Okay, so let us just keep this one simple as much as we can. Next, it. Okay, so tf.keras.layers.flatten. Okay, see, I have explained everything. Please, if you find this overwhelming, please go and check those tutorials. I have made it very much easy. And then the next step is tf.keras.layers.dense. Okay, so what is this dense? This dense is a fully connected layer. All right, so I'll specify here 512 neurons. You can also put 1024. It doesn't matter much. And activation never gets old, so I'll say activation is equal to ReLU, that is a rectified linear unit. And the last step is tf.keras.layers.dense. Okay, so when we consider this dense, what is this dense really? Okay, so what is it then? That might be a question in your mind. Well, let me tell you this. In the last examples of the MNIST, we have been working with like 10 digits, but here we have only 5 classes. Okay, that is the daisy, dandelion, roses, sunflower and tulips. So I'll say 5, and after that I'll say activation, which is equal to softmax. Why? Because I want to predict the probabilities. Okay, I am not much more concerned about the things, the way the things are working. All right, and it has been done, and now I'll just say model.summary. That gives me a concise look at the way my, okay, so 1M is extra. Model.summary, and this is my summary. You will also get to know the parameters. So the parameters are quite much more over here. Okay, so we have a lot of parameters in this network. So it is quite complicated to train this network. Now the next step is model.compile, as we all know it. So in the compilation, I'll say loss is equal to, let's say, categorical cross entropy. Since this is not a binary problem and it has to classify 5 flowers, categorical cross entropy, yeah, that is the name. And then I'll say loss function. So my optimizer, and optimizer I'll, as usual, say stochastic gradient descent. Okay, so there are a lot of I would say loss optimizers which we will be looking in the near future. So there is I think Adagrad, and there is Adam optimizer, there is RMS prop. There are a lot of optimizers, so we will actually look at them in the future videos, because I know a lot of things need to be covered. And the next step is matrix. Here I'll say accuracy, because I want the accuracy. Okay, so categorical cross entropy and accuracy. Now the next step is I want to fit my model. So this is also common. We have been doing it since a long period of time, and I'll say model.fit. And inside this fit, now it is going to take my training data. So I'll say training data. So labels here are enclosed, so I don't need to explicitly give it in the form of the X and Y. And now I'll also mention my validation data over here. Okay, so this is one of the great functionalities that TensorFlow is providing. Not TensorFlow, I would say Keras in particular is providing us, abstracting. And epochs. So I have told you what is epochs. It is the number of the iterations that are taken by the network in order. So one forward propagation and one entire backward propagation gives us one epoch. So I'm taking 10 epochs. And now there is something known as steps. So what is this steps? I'll tell you. So I'll say steps per epoch. See, you have it over here, steps per epoch. I'll say epoch is equal to, let's say, so here is a equation I'll tell you. So why do we actually even need it? I'll tell you. Okay, so you might think that, okay, I don't require this, but it is very much important. See, if you train your data in steps, because I have, in each batch I have 64 images, and if I can train them very efficiently using the steps my epoch is taking, so there is something known as mini batch gradient descent, where you have the deep understanding of how the things really work. Yeah, but right before that I'll say validation steps. So that is also there. Now we will have to specify. Okay, so what is the steps that you really want to take? Okay, so there is an equation I'll tell you. So first of all, I'll import math. So you remember I made a variable known as batch size, which was 64, because I have my images in the batches of 64 as my train data generator, like my training data and testing data, my image data generator has split them in the batches of the 64. So that makes my network very much efficient, and even it helps the loss optimizer. So the way we do it, so I'm going to take all my samples and I'm going to divide them with the batch size. So that is going to be the step my every epoch is going to take while training. So the way so let's say training steps. Okay, so that is the name of the variable I'm making. So training steps, and here I'll say training data. Now I want its shape, so the number of the images that are there in it. So I'll say samples, and I'll say divide by the batch size. What is this? Why I actually mentioned 2 slashes instead of 1. Okay, so that is going to give me an int number. I don't want a floating number over there. Okay, so just please understand that. And now I'll say testing steps. Okay, I am trying to make the code as much clean as I can so that you can easily read it and figure it out. So I'll say testing data samples. So 731 divided by batch size, that is 64. So that gives us somewhere around, I think, 11 or 12. And you can actually even use seal, if you have came across seal. What is seal? So floor and seal, the math function that we have. So in seal, we are going to always consider the upper mark, but in this example, we just want to keep it very much simple. You can do it. And I'm sorry, I have to run this. Okay, samples, S, I missed the S. Yeah, and we have it. And now here I'll say training samples. So training steps, sorry, not samples, and testing steps. And we have it. Okay, so now I'm going to train this model, and the training has begun. Okay, so this might take a while, so I'll just skip forward the, so I'll just skip the training phase so that we can just save the time on this video. Yeah, so we have done with the training right now, and as you can see, the accuracy is not as good as it should have been, because in the MNIST we had around like 97% accuracy, 98% accuracy, somewhat like that. But here we have only 63% accuracy, and here we have only 56% accuracy. So what are the some of the ways? Okay, so this network has actually caught between, I would say, high bias and high variance problem. Okay, so the accuracy over here is not increasing, so it has not been able to learn a lot of the parameters from our data, so we can increase the number of the epochs. Okay, so try increasing the number of the epochs. So try to make them 15 or 20 or somewhat like that. Okay, you can try that. That is one of the things. And another, see, I will teach you how to tackle each and every single aspect of it, and we will try to reach a lot of accuracy, because there are many things, okay, associated with the deep neural networks. It is not as easy. Experimentation is like one of the things that you can do specifically, but the way I like to put it is, there are so many things. Okay, you have to tweak the hyperparameters, you have to look at the layers, you can increase the neurons, you can use the regularization. Okay, so I'll come across all of these terminologies in upcoming videos, because there is a lot much to cover. We have to make this data quite efficient. But now, as I promised, okay, so in the next upcoming tutorials, see, I'll tell you how you can increase the epoch and how you can train the data and everything. Okay, we will actually try to improve the accuracy of this network as much as we can. Okay, so that would be our task. But today my task in this video is to help you classify an image, take the image from the internet, and help you classify the image the way it is. So I'll do it. So now we will have to use the prediction mechanism. So the 63% accuracy is very poor. Okay, I know it by myself. Okay, I could increase the epochs over here and take it around 80, like 15 or 20 epochs. I think it should yield between 83% accuracy, and that is just the estimate. Okay, but you can give it a shot. But here now I will try to predict the image. Okay, so we want to we want an application that is actually used in the real world. Who wants to work with those boring applications? Okay, just people want everything that is going with the trends and sticking to the trends, and that is very good. So the way I would like to put it, so here I'll say from TensorFlow dot keras dot pre-processing import image. Okay, so I have covered this in my earlier tutorials, but still today I'll tell you how we can do it. Okay, so this is used to take the images from the real world and feed it to our network in order to predict. Next step I would say is making a variable that is input image. So I'll say input image, that is the name of the variable. Okay, so here I'll say image dot load image. So I'm going to load image from the real world. So I'll say img, and here you have to give some of the parameters. Okay, so path is the path where my image is being stored, and then I'll say target size. So this target size is let's say 224 by 224. And today I don't have to mention the color mode, okay, which was grayscale for me in the earlier videos. And then I'll say image values. So these values are the array values, the numpy values. Okay, so numerical values, and here I'll say image and image to array. So that is the conversion I want to make. So image to array, and I'll feed it input image, the input image that I have with me, input image. Okay, and after that the next step is I want to work on its dimensionality. So see the dimension, correcting the dimension, we can either reshape it, so that is one of the things that you can do, or you can expand the dimension using the numpy. So I'll just use the numpy to do it. So I'll say import numpy as np. Okay, and here I'll say dimension corrected, because the classified images are going to be in some kind of number. So you can either use reshape -1 224 by 224, or you can do it this way, the way I am doing it. So np dot expand dims, that is the name of the method. Expand dims, that is the expand in dimension, and here I'll say image values, and axis is equal to 0, so that it can hold to the appropriately to the thing that we have. Okay, after that I'll say prediction is equal to model.predict. So this is going to take my dimension corrected image. Okay, and then I need argmax. Why? Because I'm using softmax, so it is going to give me the probability for the 5 images, and I want the probability of the highest image that is going to be selected over there. Okay, so that is my goal over here. So I'll say argmax value is equal to, I'll say np dot argmax, and I'll say prediction. Okay, so the prediction variable actually holds my predicted probabilities, and then I'll use just np dot argmax to select the highest one, and now I'll just print argmax value. This is the code. Okay, so this code is going to run very efficiently if you have your computer, so you can specify the path of the image, but we are working on the Google Colab, as you can see. So I'll just say from google.colab import files. Okay, files, and now I'll make a variable. So I'll say uploaded files dot upload, and now I'll say for path. So this is going to hold path in uploaded files, that is the name of the variable. I've taken uploaded files dot keys. Okay, dot keys, and now this is a for loop. Okay, so I have to put everything that is here to here. Okay, we have it. This is the way it is going to work. So I'm just now going to run it. Okay, so before we do it, I'll just download some images. So I'll say daisy flower. Let's say daisy flower. Okay, I'll take the images from the Google itself. Okay, so this is, I think, daisy, and I'll just save this image on my computer, and here I'll just say daisy. Okay, because I want to know the name of it, and now I'm going to run this, and it is going to say choose files. So I'll just take this daisy from here and put it over here, and let's see what it is going to classify, and it said 0. That is correct. See, I'll show you how. Let's say training data dot class indices. If I say, so the 0th number has a daisy. Okay, now let us try some other flowers. I'll say dandelion flower. Okay, I don't know what they really call it. Okay, is it dandelion or dandelion? Okay, the way you can put it, I'll just save this image. I'll say dandelion, and now I'm going to run this once again. I'm going to take the dandelion from here, and I'm going to put it over here, and let's see what it is going to classify. It says 1, and on the 1 number I have dandelion. Okay, so this is working pretty much cool. And now let us check the other flowers. I'll say roses. Let us just try to classify, let's say, okay, so let us take this. Let us try to confuse our network. if that is the case. Okay, so I'll try to confuse my network because the accuracy is very low. Still it is performing very efficiently. That is the shocking thing about it. So roses. Oh, now it is saying tulips. Okay, so we have confused our network. Why? Because I think the color of the tulips also is somewhat similar. Let's say tulip flower. Yeah, let us now actually try to give it tulip. So I'll say tulips. We will have to work on the accuracy definitely. Okay, we will do it in the upcoming videos because there are a lot of things I cannot consider each and every I cannot consider each and every single thing all the period of time because it is very difficult. Okay, now it says tulips with the tulips, and the last one I want to classify sunflowers. So I'll say sunflower. Let us check. Okay, so let us take a standard sunflower image. I am going to say save image. I am just going to say sunflower. Oops, sunflower. Okay. Yeah, just forget it. Okay, so I'll just try to run this. I'll put sunflower, and it says sunflowers. So it is doing job very well, even though my accuracy is only 63%. So this is the thing. Okay, if you try to measure this, we have a lot of error correction to do over here because see 63 and 56% is quite much difference. Okay, so I think testing accuracy should be around 60%. So 3% deviation here over was fine, but it is still trying to classify each and every single image very much efficiently. It only got confused with the roses because it was the upper angle, but if we try to feed it a single flower, let us just check it. I'll say rose. The network is working very good. Okay, because this is the basic image classification. If you enclose this thing into an API and you can just put it is going to be very good. Okay, so still it is saying tulips. Okay, we have to work on the accuracy, but it is performing very well. Okay, it was able to classify sunflower, tulips. It was also able to classify dandelion and daisy very efficiently. Okay, so this is it for the today's video. In the next video, I'll try to improve the accuracy of this network. Okay, so that tutorial will be on working how we can increase the accuracy, and then in the few upcoming videos we are going to look at very important concepts like transfer learning and data augmentation, with which you can make this network extremely powerful that it can classify any image. Okay, you don't have to specifically worry about it. So I hope that you might have gained something or the other from this tutorial. Okay, the source code for this tutorial will be available in the description box. So you can just check down in the description box. You will also have the links of the data set. I'll put them. Apart from that, I'll also link the earlier videos. So I'll put the playlist. And if you like my content, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of the updates, because upcoming tutorials are going to be very much more exciting and I don't think you want to really miss on those. Okay, so this is it for the today's tutorial, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.